welcome to my channel. My name is Brienne if you're new here, and I love talking about teacher productivity, and that's because it's made such a difference in my life. If you go way back, and I mean like way back to when I first started this channel, I had a video where I shared about my teacher burnout experience. And teacher burnout is this multifaceted thing where there are so many different causes, and some of them, most of them, were out of my control. But the one thing that I was able to control was how I spent my own time. And that's when I started to adapt different ways to be productive as a teacher. Or I'm talking about maximizing my planning time. Batch lesson planning and implementing that was the hugest game changer. But also just making the most of the time that I had while I was in school so that when I got home at the end of the day, I didn't have to continue working. Because for the first 4 years that I was teaching, I felt like I was working 24/7. I was always in teacher mode, and I would get home and have to grade and finish lesson planning, and honestly, it was a nightmare. And when I was in my teacher burnout phase, I got to the point where I was ready to quit teaching and find something else. So luckily, those things that were causing my burnout that were outside of my control, they changed. And what I learned as far as being productive, I was able to continue using, and it's made it so that I can come home at the end of the day and not have to do any teaching stuff unless for some reason I want to. Or I'd say the one exception is the beginning of the year. The beginning of the year is always a little bit crazy. So I definitely do still end up working on weekends a little bit, or sometimes at night at the beginning of the year, and it's always crazy. It's our busy season. But once we started pandemic teaching and the things that I was doing to be productive were still working, I knew that it wasn't just a me thing. This was something that I needed to share because they would work a lot more for other people. And that's what I wanted to share about today. The 3 biggest mistakes I see teachers doing all the time when they're trying to be productive. And I just want to share these things so that if this is you, you can stop. The first big mistake I see, not just teachers, but everyone making when they're trying to be productive, is multitasking. People love multitasking and they say that they're good at it because it seems like they're getting a lot done at once. But the reality is that it's actually taking them longer. They just don't realize it because once they're finished multitasking, they are checking off more than one thing from their to-do list, so it feels like they got a lot done. So we call it multitasking, but what we're actually doing is task switching. So when we're multitasking, we're actually task switching, and what that means is we start working on one task, we don't complete it, and then we stop and switch to another task. And then we'll work on that one for a while, not complete it, stop, and maybe switch to the first task or maybe start a new task. The problem is every time you go to switch your tasks, your brain has to readjust and refocus on what you're doing now. And so every time that we're switching a task, we're actually wasting a little bit of time because there's that period of time where we need to adjust to this new thing. And this is why so many people preach about batching, me included. I love batching. Batching keeps you focused on this one task, even if it's like you're taking that one task and doing it repeatedly for several days. For example, when I talk about batch lesson planning, I'm taking a task like doing the answer keys for all of my lessons for the week and just doing them all in one sitting so that I'm not going through and switching between doing the answer keys and then making copies and then going back to doing the answer keys again. I'm sure you could see how there would be a lot of wasted time in between going from one task to the next. The next mistake I see that's going to hinder your productivity is not having a plan. Granted, with teaching, it's important that we're flexible and, we can make plans and then they have to change. But it's better to have a plan that needs to be changed than to not have a plan at all. When I talk to teachers about what is their productivity issues, one thing that comes up repeatedly is they don't know what to do or they don't know where to start. And one way to remedy that is to have a plan in place. Because what happens when you don't have a plan is that you sit down, you're ready to work, but then what do you work on? Do I work on this? Do I work on that? And you just kind of end up looking around trying to figure out what to do. And if you're sitting there not knowing what to do, you're wasting valuable time. So you definitely want to have a plan in place on what you're working on. And the last mistake that I see being made frequently is not having systems. Or we could even say not having intentional systems. A lot of times we actually do have systems and we don't realize it, but they may be very ineffective and they may actually be what's hurting us. So yes, teaching is different every day, but there are a lot of tasks that we repeat daily, like taking attendance. But taking attendance is relatively easy. When it comes to tasks that are maybe not a daily task or tasks that are more complicated and have multiple steps, if we have to remember how to do it every single time because we haven't put it down to a system, it's going to take us time to recall how to do those things. So you definitely want to have systems put in place. Not only will they save you time, but they could ultimately prevent you from forgetting important steps that you need to do. So to recap, those 3 big mistakes that I see teachers making all the time that is hindering their productivity is multitasking, not having a plan, and not having intentional and effective systems. So I know that a lot of people will be able to take that message and run with it and start boosting their productivity. But if you want to become a teacher productivity master, I do have a special offer for you, and that is the Teacher Productivity Master Academy. It's my brand new course that I'm launching today. The doors are open. If you wanted to join now, the link is in the description box below. But there's 4 modules over the course of 4 weeks. We're going to overcome overwhelm, learn to avoid our distractions, and tackle our time management. And then we're going to learn how to create systems using my 4-step process called the Productive Teacher Process. And then we will learn how to sustain those systems. This is the first time that I'm offering the course, and I'm so excited about it. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments below, and I'll be happy to answer them. And this is a limited time opportunity. You have from now until Sunday, January 10th at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time to register if you wanted to join. And if it's not for you, that's totally okay. And if you made it to the end of the video and you listened to everything, I appreciate you. Have a fabulous and productive week. And as always, thanks for watching.